Today I'm going to show you how I made a quick quilt block that looks like a gift box with a bow. I've already made one for my channel, but I'm working on a variation. I'm working with this beautiful Christmas tree print and I'll be using a solid green fabric for the ribbon and bow. I started by cutting my printed block into 4 5-inch pieces, and then I cut two 2-inch strips of the green fabric and cut those down to make 4 5 by 2-inch strips. I also cut two 3-inch squares of the same fabric for the bow. I'll place them on the inner corners of two of my squares and snowball the corners. Once I was done cutting the pieces, I assembled the block to make sure that it looks good. And then I drew diagonal lines on the solid fabric to create the sewing lines for the HSDs. I'll sew just a hair's breadth away from that line on the outer corner because you always lose a tiny bit of fabric when you sew exactly on the line. I'm hoping this will help in creating a perfect HSD. And then I started sewing. I started with the corners and created those half square triangles. And as you can see here, I'm using the back of my rotary cutter to press the seams. I always make sure to retract my blade once I'm done using the cutter because I love to use it for pressing small seams. It works so much better than finger pressing and you can apply a large amount of pressure with very little effort. I decided that I didn't want tiny triangles to add to my stash, so I sewed another line about 1/2 inch away from the center line and made a tiny little half square triangle. These are a much cuter addition to my stash of scraps, and once I have enough, I'll put them together and make something fun. And then I continued sewing the pieces together. I sewed the bottom pieces first by placing the ribbon fabric right sides together with the printed fabric, and I sewed it using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I pressed the seam flat and then attached the other side to complete the bottom portion of the gift. Next, I started working on the middle. I placed the green pieces right sides together and sewed them down to create a strip of fabric. And then I placed the middle block right side together with the bottom portion of the block. I made sure to match the center seams perfectly before sewing, and I followed the same process to complete the second half of the gift box. I feel like if I cut a stack of these pieces, I can get them sewn up really quickly while listening to a podcast or something. I gave the block a final press and here's the finished product. I think it's so cute. Thanks for checking out my video, guys. See you in the next one. Bye!